Welcome to another edition. Keeping it orange and blue. We may be late, but you know what? It's better than never. What's happening, Kevin?
What's up, my man Ryan? Glad to be back on the show. I know that we pushed to Monday, then we pushed to Tuesday. I'll get into a little bit for the folks that are watching why we had to do that. Our apologies, but yeah, it was just a fun week of Illinois basketball. Even though it didn't end maybe the way that we wanted it to, and then man, we've got some great recruiting news and football. We're picking up some high quality transfers, so it's a good week to talk Illinois sports as we get ready closer to the holidays. So
100%. And with as exciting as basketball is, there's still some really awesome things going on with Illini football. With Tommy DeVito, with the chicken cutlets. I mean, whatever. It's amazing, man. Just there we go. Not just that, but Chase Brown had a big game for the Cincinnati Bengals, and so you get to see, the NFL guys from Illinois. We got to see what made the team so good last year. We could watch them on Sundays. Some big time recruiting, news. Illinois has been hitting the portal really hard, and then also, in the class of 2024, been making a big dent. So still exciting things on the football front, and I think there's some more good news coming this week and into next for the transfer portal. But with that said, I think we need to talk with, in my opinion, the headliner of the class of 2024. He probably wouldn't say that, but he's obviously a big get. We're going to bring on AJ Dennis to the show.
How are we doing?
What's up, AJ?
Not much.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Kev, I know you got tons of questions for him. Let's hit it rolling, man. Go ahead, start it off.
Well, first of all, AJ, what led you to Illinois? Like, why are you donning the orange and blue? And then secondarily, will we see you? Are you going to be an early enrollee? So,
yeah. So the first part of the question, I think a lot of it in today's recruiting, a lot of things that make a decision for kids, maybe shouldn't be the right distributing factor. And so for me, it was big. I was big on relationships. Coach B and Coach Miller were the first Power 5 school to offer me. After the situation happened at Michigan State, they were the first school I visited. They were always in contact, but it was never too much. Like, there are times where you need to put the phone down and relax and enjoy being a kid, and then separate the recruiting. And they were like good about that. So a lot of it's relationships, a lot of it's the people. Obviously, Coach B and Coach Miller. You look at their track record developing offensive linemen. It's second to none. I mean, since 2006, the only head coach that put more draft picks in the league are, Nick Saban, and it's hard to compete with that. When it's close to home and it's in the Big Ten.
Right. And I'm super glad that offensive lineman recruits and things are so well aware of that. I know that's part of their recruiting, that they need to tell kids. But what is it that you also see that when you watch them on the field, it's more than just about, as much as you might feel comfortable with someone, you obviously have to watch what you see on the field and like it or think maybe, you can step in right away and make a difference. And that Bart Miller and Bielema can help you get to the league. But what is it about the way the Illini staff goes about coaching and teaching offensive linemen that really stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been to 3 games. I've sat in meetings, and the way they play kind of just really sticks out to me. They're striving to finish guys every play. They're straining down the field. There's constant effort, and that's some of my big morals when it comes to offensive line playing the position. I think those are huge factors. And so when you see that on the field, that makes you want to be able to, be a part of that. Sitting in meetings with Coach Miller, he's a very intelligent man. And so he goes into, it's a very fine print of what he wants. And he does a good job of, when you do something correct, he'll love up on you. But at the same time, you make a mistake, you're going to know because they hold such a high standard.
You mentioned intelligence, and it's obviously clear that you're a very intelligent young man yourself. Does academics focus in when you're looking at that, or I mean, are you purely looking at the football? And if it is some academics did factor in, what do you think you're going to major in?
Yeah, I mean, academics are a huge thing for me. I'm a 4.0 student.
Oh
And so
yeah.
so, you know, during this college decision, looking, that was a big factor. So, I mean, you look at Illinois, the business school that they have, it's a top tier business school, and I plan on majoring in supply chain management with a finance minor.
That's awesome, dude. Good
Now,
for you.
Kevin noticed it. I've noticed it. And if I'm stealing your question, Kevin, well, get over it. But so we've noticed like you have this really cool, just like calm, pleasant, friendly demeanor. But when you hit the field, it's like, it could be a flip of a switch, and it could just be, you just become somebody else. But you're just an animal out there. You one track mind, which to be a successful player you need. But what is that? What created that for you? What was that brought that to you, and why do you feel like that's made you successful?
I definitely think everything that makes me successful in football, and especially offensive line, goes back into hockey. Being a defenseman, you're constantly shifting the weight, you're going forwards and backwards, and not only that is hockey's a very physical sport. It's a very physically demanding sport. It's either hit or be hit. Um, so I think that's kind of where I learned that mentality of flip the switch. You can be as nice as you want to be off the field and off the ice, but when it comes time, you need to be able to flip that and get your mind into a different spot and just let it rip.
Are you a fiery guy like in the locker room, like pregame, or are you trying to keep it mellow and chill? Like what's your vibe there?
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I'm a big country music fan. So
Okay.
before the game, I always have to turn on the country music because I don't want to get too amped up.
Hmm.
Because you get too amped up, you get those unnecessary roughnesses, you get those personal fouls that you don't need. You don't need to hurt the team. So yeah, I turn on the little country music before I head out.
All right. I get it. I dig it.
So you obviously visited a couple times at least, maybe
Mhm.
more. When you came to Illinois, did the facilities part of it as well? Because I mean, it's such an asset in my opinion.
Yeah.
The Smith Center, like, what is that to you when you go to all those other, you've Clemson, you've Michigan
Mhm.
State, you've been to places. Like, where is Illinois in your opinion? Is it something special that is an asset for the program?
Yeah, I mean, you walk through the Smith Center and you're kind of taken away by it. It's not only that; it's the people inside the Smith Center. It's the athletic trainers. It's Coach Tank and his staff. It's the nutritionists. So, you know, I think for me, when looking at schools, every school's going to have a top tier facility. Every school's going to have the new equipment, the new technology in the weight room. So a lot of it comes down to who's inside of that building.
Mm.
And in the Smith Center, I think the people inside are genuine, and they're there to help you get better and to reach your ceiling.
Right on. So AJ, where are you projected where are you projected to play on the offensive line, and what position like would be ideal for you? And then secondarily on that question, what do you think you need to work on the most to get on the field as soon as possible?
Yeah. So the first question, it's kind of interesting you asked that. Coach Miller kind of sees me as like a 5-2 offensive lineman,
Hmm.
but we're going to start out inside, cross training guard and center.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I'm open to anything. I just want to be able to compete and try to get on the field early. And then when it comes to like what I need to progress in, I think a lot of it's I mean not a lot of it. I think some of it's strength, and
Hmm.
then playbook wise, because at center you got to ID everything. And coming from this year for me, like I was IDing at left tackle, but I was 4 years into the program, so I knew the offense like the back of my hand. So my goal is to get that offense down as quick as I can, because once you know the center position, you really know all the rules for the four other spots. So
Yeah, I think you'd be a huge asset with your intelligence. Like if center might work out for you someday, because I mean, you'd love to have a guy. You don't have a 4.0 GPA without being able to think quick. And with the center position, obviously making calls, being really the
mhm.
captain of the offensive line, that'd be pretty cool. But it's cool to hear you say. I forgot to say, did you say you were enrolling in January or not?
Yeah, I am. So interesting enough, like I was done with high school like 2 weeks ago. We're a trimester based school.
Huh.
So I got done a little bit before Thanksgiving break. So it's just been working out, hunting, and enjoying time with family.
You getting into tree stand? He's doing some deer hunting.
Tree stand and on the ground.
All right. Well, we got some good whitetail in Illinois.
Oh, I know, it's world class.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I have a couple questions, so we'll make it a dual one. First off, when did you know that Illinois is where you wanted to go? Like, because you did take all those other visits, and a lot of Illini fans were like, "Oh no, he's at Clemson," But in your head, did you kind of have a moment where you're like, "This is where I'm going"?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it comes down, like I said earlier, to people. And so when I got back on campus, I kind of sparked that love I had and the interest. I mean, you don't visit a school 4 times if you're not interested in it. So when I got back around Coach B and Coach Miller, and I think a big contributing factor for me was being around the players on the team, being around the offensive linemen in that room already. I really fit. It's a lot of Midwestern kids. It's a lot of blue collar mentality. So I think that was just I think you hear when it feels right, it feels right. In the recruiting world, and Illinois felt right, and the people I was around, they were definitely like the people I want to be around and help me develop me into a man.
That's awesome to hear. Any particular players you bonded with?
TJ,
Okay.
Sam, Joey Okla, Hunter Whiteneck,
Yeah.
Brandon Hanson,
Okay.
Brandon Henderson, and then Eddie Turk. So,
Right on. You're going to have to reach out to Aiden Lawfrey, Caden Fagan. Caden might not be a hunter himself, but Caden's going to be able to take care of you, take you down to Yoder's, take you down to Arcola, get you some good country food. And I guarantee Caden knows somebody that knows where a tree stand's at. If not, you can holler at me. I can talk to my dad. But I know Aiden Lawfrey's going to have something for you too, probably Gibson City kid. I guarantee they got an uncle or cousin's got some land for you. You can go hop up in a tree stand.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. That's been a common topic between me and Coach Miller. So he's got a couple. We talked about a couple spots for me to go, and in the rare time that we have, free time. Yeah. So when I can, I'd like to get out, but you know how demanding this is. It's a job, so
yeah. Well,
that comes first.
Have Fagan take you out because he's going to be your running back, and then the running backs, they get the love, and they're going to get the NIL love.
So he's going to be buying you a bunch of dinners. So
have him take you down to Arcola and get some Amish fixins down there. You can throw down, big fella. Put some LBs on, get you up to that 300 playing weight.
Yeah, that sounds good.
My last question: what do you think of this 2024 class? Do you and have you got a chance to get close with them? And because in 2022 and 2023 class, they all had like a big chat and stuff.
Yeah.
Are you guys all pretty close? And what do you make of it? Do you like the progression of what you think with what we saw from last year's team to where the class is with 2024?
Yeah, I mean, we have a group chat as well, and I think it's important to be a part of a close family type of feel. They don't have that saying for nothing. And so, going through this process, it was big for me to meet the commits, talk to them, whether it's in person, on the phone, over text message. So that was big going into it. And I think it like you said, it's a tight feel. I think all the guys are on board, and everybody has the same goal in mind, and we're all going to try to develop ourselves and be able to help contribute to a successful football program.
And with Trey Petty locked in,
yep.
you got your QB1 here in the next few years coming. I think after Mr. Altmaier, so that's awesome to see. But do you have any more questions for him, Kev?
No, just a couple things for me, if you would. When you see my man Cal Swanson, tell him I said what's up. We had Cal on the show a year ago. I got to go watch him play. I live in Oklahoma now, so I got to go watch Cal play. I think you guys will hit it off. He's a great dude.
Yeah, he's roommates with TJ. I got to spend some time with him.
That's awesome. Tell him I said what's up, please, and thank you. And then
will do.
And then if you need a little bit more on the edge when you're listening to your country music, if you need something to just get you up a little bit, maybe the Wolf by Whiskey Myers or Frogman by Whiskey Myers, get you a little fired up there. But dude, I can't, I know Ryan and I, we get guests on the show every now and then. We can't thank you guys enough for coming on board. You're part of the family now. I've been bleeding orange and blue since I was 3 years old, man. And just really happy to have you. You're headlining the class. You're headlining the class at the most important position on the football field for me. In my opinion, football is won at the line of scrimmage. You see it all the time. You see great quarterbacks with bad lines. They're not great anymore. You see average quarterbacks with great lines. They become really good. And you're so important. And I'm glad you saw the vision. And you just seem like a first-class young man. So thank you so much. Appreciate you.
No, thank you guys for inviting me. It's been awesome being on this and talking some football and just talking some life. Like you said, about country music, I'm a big Culture Wall fan.
Oh, yeah,
Wall,
right.
Luke Combs, yeah. So
Okay.
those are probably two of my go-tos.
Hey, if I could offer you a piece of advice here, and it's not, I didn't have this experience, but I've talked to a lot of guys who have, is like, have the right level of patience as you move into this, right? You're going to be going up against 22-year-old men, and who've got years on you. That doesn't mean you can't go knock their dick in the dirt. And I know you're going to do that, right? But at the same time, like the offensive lineman path to play is normally about year 3, right? Like redshirt year, a freshman sit year, and then get on the field. That doesn't mean that you wait your turn. You go take that turn. But just like I know that it's the first time in your life you're probably ever going to sit for a little bit, and that's a pain in the ass. Just understand you're working towards a bigger goal, and you see so many of these guys, redshirt 5th-year offensive linemen who get drafted in the first round for a reason, because it does take time to put on that strength to play at this level.
Yeah, and I agree. Like for me, it's more of like just get in there, put the nose down, get after it. Stars are cool. Stars are cool to say,
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. You're all gonna be in one locker room. Everybody's equal, and so it's about what you do, away from what you're supposed to do. You got to put in the extra time, and that's the plan going into it.
Yeah, and heck, graduate, get drafted in the first round with an MBA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where it's at, young man.
Yep.
A Mount Pleasant man getting to play Central Michigan next year, huh?
Yeah, I know it's gonna be interesting. My high school quarterback, he's going to Central, so hopefully he gets to travel and we get a good picture after the game.
Chippewas,
man.
that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that is cool. Hey, Andrew, do you like? Is it A? Do you prefer AJ?
Either one.
Okay.
I go by both.
Okay, cool. Well, AJ, we appreciate you coming on again, man. And I feel like at some point, even if it's next summer, maybe we'll catch up with you again and see how things have progressed with you. But we appreciate your time, and safe travels when you get to Illinois and start working out with the team here soon. So we appreciate you, man.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, brother. ILL.
Yep. I and I.
There we go. Nailed it.
Hey, I want to share a story. So I have a good buddy of mine who lived behind me when I lived in St. Joe. He played at Illinois. He was a 5-star offensive lineman recruit. Didn't have the career that he wanted to, but there's other extenuating factors there. But he played with Eric Gunther, who was I believe is Ron Gunther's grandson. Eric Gunther wore 41, middle linebacker, a little bit undersized. And if anybody ever ran into Eric Gunther on campus outside of football, he really, like, for lack of a better term that I can come up with, he gave a Ned Flanders vibe. Like, oh, hi, how are you? He always carried his Bible around, devout Christian, just super, super nice guy. My buddy told me, like, when the helmet came on and, like, they would get in the locker room, he just became this animal, like this psychopath, like banging his head into his helmet until his forehead would bleed, screaming obscenities. The guy would never swear any other time, just like, I'm going to kill everybody, like,
yeah,
ultimate switch guy. And that dude, like, when he first came on with you and I before the show, I'm like, this is like, I watched his highlights. Anybody who's listening to the show, like, go YouTube his highlights. He destroys people. He looks like the next coming of Owen Kreutz. And I know it's fun to say that because we got 2 Kreutz kids. Like, he plays offensive line like James Kreutz plays linebacker. He's a heat-seeking missile as an offensive lineman. He drives guys to the turf after the whistle, and he's such a kind, smart young man. It just reminded me of that, so it's pretty awesome.
That's a good trait to have, though. I mean, and as I told him, it's good to have an outlet like this to dominate and let that loose, and But there's a reason Penn State and Clemson offered him, Kev. I mean, he's super talented, so. That's just, and that's it. So it's an awesome get, and
he's the highest rated recruit in the class. So
yeah, and again, he's not all about the stars, and it isn't always about the stars, it. But there's a reason that he was so highly coveted, and obviously we're thrilled that Illinois got him. So we're awesome to have him on, and we appreciate it. We had Clay Patterson last week. We had Andrew Dennis this week. So I'm going to try to work on see if we can get one more before the
Get a
class.
Weeche Sledge on.
Yeah. I'm going to work on it, or maybe someone that we haven't mentioned yet that might be committing this week. Maybe. Before we get to some other stuff, there's usually questions on here. I'm sure Sean Garner is going to ask if Illinois. Let's see. Why did the staff let go of Conkle?
I don't think they did. You never know. I mean, there's always back channel stuff there, but it sounds like it was just a decommit.
Yeah, I know there was people who were kind of telling me. There was people who were telling me that it was coming at some point soon, and before he committed, it was really surprising because a lot of people thought it was like Arkansas or Michigan State when he committed, and then it was just a surprise. And then they were like, "Hey, if a couple of them are going to let go, Conkle's going to be one." And I was like, "Well, we'll see. It's getting near here."
Yeah. Still got the tight end. Still got Hollinger out in Nebraska.
Yeah.
They're really. My understanding is they're pretty in hot pursuit for the Ball State kid, the tight end there.
Yeah, and you still got Boyer and Arkin.
And Griffin. Yep. And, with Ryman going into the transfer portal, I think that Illinois is probably not transfer portal going into the draft. Illinois is probably seeking out another veteran tight end to come in and potentially play right away. And if you're looking at the kid from Ball State, that would be he's going to come in as a junior. Where Tip would only have one more year. So I think just the path to playing time might scare some kids away.
Yeah, and Taz transferred for a couple of reasons. I honestly believe it was mutual. I think didn't have a good year and didn't really have a great attitude. And that's not just coming from me. That's coming from people who cover the team closer than me, people who are, close with the players, just didn't have a good attitude. And I think wanted to change the scenery, and I think needed to change the scenery. So it's okay. It's sometimes separation is good for both parties. So with that said, I'll talk a little more. I'll talk a couple names at the end of the show who I think are going to join the Illini through the transfer portal. I put one little Swami crystal ball for one of them.
Canada.
Canada. I've never wanted to be Canadian so bad. No, but yes, that's a little hint. So we'll, but how can we not talk about Illinois basketball? Because honestly, even with the loss to Tennessee, it felt like such a positive week. It was like in the past, that game it's like you knew going into it, the team probably was going to not show up or, lose by 15. Even with some of the really good, talented teams Illinois had, they've just in the non-conference in December, Illinois' record had been pretty bad. Even with Brad Underwood, and it was just like they let last year lay an egg against Missouri, or you go on the road and get blown out at Arizona. It's just every year there was always one game where it was just like scratching your head. So it was kind of like this Tennessee game was going to be it.
Right.
It was like that high, and you're like, here it comes the sledge. And this Illinois team just didn't allow that sledge to just drive them away. They kept coming back, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
They had the lead for a good chunk there in the late first half, even into the second half with 5 or 6 minutes left. Illinois was still winning, but some controversial calls I felt like stemmed the top. Took that momentum away from Illinois and gave it back to Tennessee. But Illinois never really let them just run away with it. They still kept it close, got it to 5. Some weird calls like Ziegler slipping, and they're saying that Goody fouled him. The charge on Gary with when it was 5 and 7. It's just there was always something that kept them away from getting closer than that. But with all that said, 21,000 Tennessee fans, a hostile environment, a super experienced, tough team who just played in the Sweet 16 last year, who added probably the most elite scoring transfer guard in Dalton Connect in the entire country, in my opinion. And Illinois was right there with them, man. And if Quincy Guerrero can play like that, man, I feel so good about the team. Even with Damask shooting 2 out of 11, that's not going to happen very often, Kevin.
No, I think it's one of the things I walk away from the week, and I'm obviously more bullish on the team, and it's not just because they won at Rutgers and they won at FAU in the Garden against FAU. It's also included in the loss against Tennessee, and I'm going to break that down a little bit here. So in the games, in the game against Rutgers, it was a grind out, physical, typical Big Ten battle when you play Rutgers and Illinois. Illinois scrapped together a win, won that game by going away. Hit shots late against FAU. Illinois had to kind of diversify the way that they were going to run that offense, and FAU was really getting down the court, and FAU made a lot of shots. Illinois had to play at a faster pace in that one, and Illinois found a way to ISO its better players against smaller guards, and they won. And they won both those games with shooting a few threes, not a ton, 22 and 20, I believe, against Tennessee. Now, understand, I know a lot of fans are upset with the 36 threes, but I want to talk about that a little bit. What Tennessee was really doing was Tennessee was really clogging the lane for Illinois driving the basketball. And so what Illinois had to do was do a driving kick or pass to the post and kick. And some guys made some early threes, specifically Guerrier and Coleman. And so those guys knocked down 6 of the respective 9 threes that we made in the game, 1 by Shannon and then 2 by Goody. And it opened the floor up for a little bit more spacing. But the thing that's most encouraging about that is we had to play a different style of game, and we were right there. We were right there to challenge for that game, and some things went against us in the second half. And I think there was a little bit like that. I think Tennessee used the crowd and gave them some energy. Vescovi hasn't been playing very well all year from a scoring standpoint. He had probably his best game of the season. And, Guerrier had his best offensive game to kind of counteract that. But like you said, I don't foresee a game where Terrence and Damas go 1 for 11 from 3 again. I don't foresee many games where Coleman takes 10. But Illinois has so many different options to throw at you. Like if you look at this team, we all know Terrence Shannon could score 20 any night. He's averaging 21 points a game. We've seen Marcus Damas can push to the 20-point limit. Now we've seen Quincy Guerrier do it. Coleman Hawkins has done it in the past. I believe he did it against Wisconsin last year. I believe he did it against came real close against Indiana in the Big Ten tournament 2 years ago. Dane just scored 22 points against Michigan State in a game last year. Would it shock anybody if Justin Harmon or Luke Goody dude, I'm telling you, it's coming one of these days. He's just got to get on the floor and make one of those shots. But DGL can go nuclear on somebody really quick. So this Illinois we have options when like our second option, basically, I won't want to say it got taken away from us, but our second option went cold, and we got 22 points out of Quincy, and we got 12 out of Coleman. And there's just when you have a team that can do that, it opens up so many things. I know that Dane made a few mistakes when he was in, but I think Illinois probably could have played him some more. I bet you if Brad looks at the tape, he'll walk away from it and said, hey, we could use Dane a little bit more, because I think that when he was in there, he was being effective at least on the offensive end. I know it's always defense with him and turnovers. And last but not least,
we can get him away from the same stuff,
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's why he pulls him, because he's like, I get it though. Like you can't keep doing the same things every game and getting pulled for them, and then every game you just keep doing it. Like at what point does it click?
And then I look at Brad's addressing of the team afterwards. I thought that was really pretty cool. And Rudy Ray Moore, that's the biggest bullshit comment I've ever seen in my life. Like this team is not the same team as last year. Proven from Arkansas. Oh, he's talking about Bielema. Sorry, I went Brad Underwood. I'm sorry, my bad. I thought he was talking. I imposed Brett for Brad there. My apologies, Rudy. But I can talk more about that.
We'll talk more about that later, Rudy, because there was so much factors that played in Illinois losing. It wasn't just, oh, I told you so. Northwestern was better. Illinois beat themselves. But let's digress. Let's go back to
No, I was, but looking back on, I actually feel more encouraged after Illinois lost to Tennessee than I did going into the game. I actually felt more encouraged by them because I don't think Illinois played well. I think, and when I say that they and that's from the fans' perspective, I don't think we played well. I think a lot of loose balls didn't go our way. I think we got beat to some loose balls, but we also just didn't make very many shots. And I think this team does have the ability to make shots. And you factor all those things in a game on the road, 21,000 veteran, top 10 quality Tennessee basketball team. And we're within single digits under the 4-minute mark. Like, dude, it's there. So I'm just overall encouraged about who this team is and where they can go. And they got to take care of business this week against Colgate on Sunday. Colgate has been in the tournament something like 5 of the last 6 years. They can really shoot the ball. They're going to want to grind and slow down, but Illinois should use their size and physicality. And with a week to prepare, I don't foresee Illinois looking ahead to Missouri because you still got 5 more days before you play Missouri. They only play 2 games. They only play 3 games for the rest of December.
It's like one a week. It turns out. Yep.
So it's rest some legs, get some stuff worked out in practice. And I'll tell you this: like, you look at the level of Illinois' depth, practice is probably a nightmare for those guys. I mean, that Colgate game is going to seem like a cakewalk compared to practice. So I'm not too worried about these next 3. I think Illinois, if they finish the non-con, what would that be, 9-2, and then what's
10-2 if Illinois sweeps the last 3 games.
Yep. Yeah, so 9-2 in the non-con puts us in a really good space, and then you really try to go, 14-6 in conference. I think it would be a really nice place. I think that gets Illinois somewhere to the 3 to 6 seed line. So,
yeah, if and then don't watch out, but you got ranked Northwestern's Illinois' first home game in January. So
bring it on.
That's going to be a fun game. Oh, I know. I am looking forward to it.
Wish the students were here.
Yeah, that's another thing too. It's like going to be kind of quiet, but with that said, I think just some of the people who are on Coleman Hawkins, I think he's getting healthier. Personally, I just think he still wasn't 100%, and sometimes he takes shots that he shouldn't. But when he hit 3 of them, so I was okay with most of them, to be honest with you.
Well, one of them he hit was it would technically fall on the ill-advised, but there were 2 seconds on the shot clock, and it was one of those step back to the side fadeaway threes, and he nailed it because he just has that ability. I mean, he took probably 2 ill-advised shots the entire game. I'm okay with it. I think he got robbed on that steal. I mean, there was some of those in the charge on the blocking call on Guerriere. Those were 2 of the ones I'm just like scratching my head about. But you're going to get those. That's why if you're going to beat a team on the road like Tennessee, you've got to win that game by 10 points that ends up being 3 on the scoreboard because you're going to have to beat the ref.
Yep, and I honestly think Illinois probably outplayed Tennessee by a point or 2. It just didn't turn out to be that way on the scoreboard because, again, you got to beat them by 10 if you want to actually win the game.
Yeah, we don't get the bounce off the back iron 25 feet in the air and straight.
Yeah, I'm like, there was too many of those. Like, how many free throws did we see them bouncing around, clanging right at the top of the square? Yeah.
Hey, can we talk about how well we shot free throws this past week? That was something. Yeah. I mean, that was really impressive.
Hey, Ty Rogers, what?
Yeah, 3 of 4.
3 of 4. Hey, we'll take that every day. 3 out of 4. Definitely so much to be excited about. And here's the thing. It's not just, it's no moral victory. Ken Palm notices this stuff.
Yes.
Torvik sees it. The net moved Illinois up. The AP poll moved Illinois up. And as much as I don't agree with always the AP poll, I think enough people watched that game. It was the CBS Spotlight game that day before the Army-Navy game. So I think most people were watching it, and it was an impressive showing from Illinois. Everybody with all these metrics, I think Haslam metrics moved Illinois up. I think all those things are there for Illinois. So it was just a rarity. We don't usually feel pretty good after a loss, and it was just a game that I don't think many people expected Illinois to win, but they showed so much more even in defeat than I think than most people would normally talk about. So
absolutely.
Well, with that said, I got to say, just some recruiting tidbits for Illinois hoops. Man, Jace Butler, dude, Jace Butler is killing it. If you guys are not paying attention to him, you need to follow some people who cover California high school basketball. He was just the MVP of the most elite tournament, a regional tournament in California with all the top teams. He was the MVP of that. I could look at it, Twitter it up right now and get you all that details. But all I know, I saw a couple of his stat lines, 21, 6, 5, and 3. And one of them, was – and he's got more hops than I gave him credit for.
I mean, 360 two-hand dunks in the dunk contest. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like people were like, oh, he's a below-the-rim guy. Yeah, like he's crafty around the rim and can be a below the rim guy to score effectively, but he can also get up and do a lot offensively as well above the rim. But man, I'm telling you what, don't sleep on Jace Butler because that dude's going to play next year. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
I just want people to know that because we're talking about Merez Johnson for good reason, but people don't think for 1 second Jace Butler's not going to play. He's going to play.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Brad does with, losing basically the 5 guys he's going to have out on the floor to finish games with, Harmon, Shannon, Damask, Guerriere, and Hawkins probably all gone. So then that elevates guys like Goody, Rogers, DGL, Hansberry, Morez Johnson, Jace Butler. Like, does Illinois go? How hard? Where does Illinois go in the transfer portal? I think it'll be interesting. I think Illinois will probably look at maybe. I do know there's a really good big that is very interested in Illinois that might be coming in. But does Illinois go for more role players? Do they look more like the Jacob Grandis and Justin Harmon style role player to come in, or are they going to try to find another star to transfer in, or are they going to let these guys take a little bit of their lumps as freshmen? It'd be interesting to see what happens.
Do we know said Big's name?
I do not.
Because we can play the breadcrumb game if we need.
I know. I need to find it. The breadcrumbs have been laid out by some of the other recruiting guys that I follow.
Okay.
Specifically, I'll plug Brad Sturdy. I mean, Brad has laid it out. Everybody here should subscribe to Illini guys. I'd encourage you to do that. I think those guys are our friends too. So,
I'm not deterring anybody. I don't say anything about anybody who subscribes to things because here's the bottom line, folks. I've just kind of pushed myself away from a lot of Luke's my guy with the recruiting.
Yeah.
I have my contacts with football recruiting, and y'all know that's what I do my thing. Y'all want to do your thing and look at whoever's saying what. I don't delve into any of it. So sometimes when people hear something that I don't, I'm like, wow, really?
Well, I just know Illini guys is a great site, and they're my friends, and I know you got a couple friends that work over there as well.
Yes,
but I'll tell you this: the football site was a lot better when the football guy was running around.
The football guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Was that like a mythological character?
Nobody could know. Nobody ever knew who he was, and then he went away and recruiting.
And it's just never been the same, huh?
Recruiting football information went way downhill. So
man, only probably people on the Illini guys who get it, but it's okay.
I get message from guys there all the time about recruiting information, and I'm like, well, I wish the football guy was still here. Yeah,
if only you could talk to the football guy,
I know. Can't find him.
He's gone.
I did hear he's got good conversations with Clay Patterson and AJ Dennis recently, though. But.
Yeah, he probably it could be Kev, man. He's got some alter egos. But with that said, I want to switch gears to Jeremiah Fears. Ryan Forehand deleted it, but that's okay. He did what he's supposed to. He has his contacts, but that's not the only person I'd heard that from. But he's with 200 columns too, by the way. But Jeremiah Fears staying in the 2025 class is what it's looking like.
It's a good move for him.
Yeah, it is a good move for him.
He's a fantastic player, but guards need that year.
Yeah, he can add a little strength to it, get a little more savvy to his game. I think he's got definitely top 10, 15 player potential in that class.
Oh, absolutely. He is the real freaking deal.
Like you saw that up and under reverse layup he did to Cooper Flagg, right?
Yeah, and the other one that he hit where he hit it with the fake behind the back and then finish at the rim, and he can shoot. He's a dog. Like the kid can play, and this is such an interesting recruitment because we moved away from his brother because we were worried about his ability to shoot, and he has shown at Michigan State that is not his forte. Michigan State can't shoot as a team, and that's interesting. But the fact that that's kudos to Brad right there and the staff is that you can move away from a kid and say, hey, listen, you're not the best fit for us, and still be hot and heavy with his brother. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I know. I think the dad's definitely, in favor of staying close. I think
his dad's pretty educated on what basketball is like, and he has said that Michigan State's a better spot for Jeremy. Illinois is a better spot for Jeremiah.
Yep. I actually watched his dad play at Joliet Township, the Steelman. Yeah, the Steel. Yeah, I think he actually played where he went to the same high school as Roger Powell Jr.
Yeah.
So I actually watched his dad play, which is interesting if things come full circle. Yeah, so Jeremiah and people are like, why are you bringing him up? Okay, well, because Illinois, I still feel is in great shape. I've put Illinois down as my landing spot for him. I feel like Illinois is still in the lead for him, and I really don't feel like that's going to change if he stays. If he stays and decides to go to college instead of going to New Zealand or the G League or something, that's going to be Illinois. So
yeah, we got people. You've got connections with people who are very close to the Fierce family, and so until we hear otherwise, I mean, it's Illinois is in a really good spot there.
Yeah. So I try to come on here and that's what I'm saying is when I come on here and you hear me say stuff, I'm being authentic and genuine with you with people who know their shit that I talk to directly. And I'm going to relay it on here. And when they tell me don't relay it on here, I won't relay it on here. But that's what's going on with that. I think that was of note, because I mentioned in the 2024 guards like Jace Butler and, how could he come if Jeremiah wants to come in 24? Well, because it sounds like Jeremiah Fears is staying in the class of 2025. I'm excited, Kev, because on Saturday night, I'm going to the Springfield shootout to watch Merez Johnson play.
Heck yeah.
And I'm going to be posting some highlights of that. I'm going to get some video, may even try to get a little word with him after the game. I'm definitely going to be doing that. So I'll be updating that. I'll be posting those on my X account at 200 Columns Rye. So excited to see Merez play. I'll
tell you, man, you go to some of those shootouts. It's a pretty phenomenal time. I never forget. I went to a shootout in Indianapolis where I saw Derrick Rose and Eric Gordon play against each other. And then the second game, I got to see Greg Oden and Mike Conley play against Jacob Poland and who was Brian Carwell. Okay. And Corey Lucius played earlier in that day. He was a sophomore out of Milwaukee, ended up going to Michigan State. There was when I get to say that I saw Mike Conley, Greg Oden, Derrick Rose, and Eric Gordon, all guys who played significant minutes in the NBA outside of Oden, but he was the number 1 draft pick. I mean, that's pretty awesome. So I encourage fans, if you ever want to go watch something like that, it's pretty cool. I actually met Eric Gordon and his dad and thought they were really nice guys. Turns out I was wrong.
Yeah, so at the same turkey tournament I was telling you guys about that Jeremy Fears was playing for Joliet Township, there was these 2 guys at Springfield Lanphier named Rich McBride and Andre Iguodala.
Absolutely.
And they were teammates. Yeah. And let me tell you, if that wasn't a fun team.
Yeah, I got to watch. Yes, I watched them play Peoria Richwoods, which had, I think it was Richwoods, it had Sean Livingston and another game, Robert Faulkner.
Yeah,
Robert Faulkner was a really good undersized.
I think they lost in the state title game at Springfield Lanphier. But here's why I say that: Rich McBride, if you guys remember Illinois, great 3-point shooter, but man, his range was 25 feet. Like he'd be hitting them, he'd be pulling up 10 feet from the half court and just hitting them from 25 feet. And then when teams would come up on him, he'd just no look at the Iguodala who'd catch it at the square and just finish and make it look just like it was just like a baby Nerf hoop.
Well, Rich had foot problems because when he was a sophomore, he was like the best sophomore in the country.
Yeah.
When he was a sophomore and junior, he would put the ball on the deck, go around guys, and 2-hand cram in the lane, and like his foot problems just killed his explosiveness.
Yes.
Because he was well on his way to probably having an NBA career, and just the foot problems killed him.
Yep, and I just remember how he shot. He never was square. If you remember his feet.
Yeah.
They were always cooked in.
Yeah.
So go back and watch any Illini film, that Penn State game where they waved.
No, don't talk about that.
They don't talk about that 3 where they waved it off. Okay. But yeah, just watch when he shot, his feet crooked in a little. But yeah, so definitely go out and do that. I'm going to be in Springfield. So if anybody is going to go to that Springfield shootout, that'd be fun. So we can say what's up. But now on to this transfer portal as we finish up this episode, is that we gave a little hint here. Illinois needs to finish up, Kev, in a good light. You said they're after the Ball State kid, the tight end. I know they just had the Youngstown State defensive lineman finish up his official visit.
Yep.
I think that went pretty good. I know that I think it was at JC, the offensive lineman from New Mexico.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Everybody and their mama wants that dude.
Yeah. So Illinois feels really good about him, but like he's being courted by so many top schools. And Brett Bielema has tried to grab hold of him, and the same reasons that Andrew Dennis picked Illinois. I think Bielema's trying to show him, like, hey man, look what we did with Isaiah Adams. We got a guy from a JUCO who we've now turned into going to be a 3rd or 4th round pick probably. Like, we can do this with you in one season at Illinois. So if Illinois is going to get any of those guys, I feel good about the New Mexico offensive linemen. Now, and of course, Canada, Chase Canada. So I expect him this week. He told me he's making his announcement this week. He never told me it's Illinois. But for goodness sake, you guys, he changed his profile picture on X to Illinois, okay? I mean, it's him in his Fighting Illini jacket. He just got offers from Indiana and Houston. By the way, his dad went to Indiana. And so there's some legacy there. His dad played at Indiana. And that's a new staff. The JMU staff has offered him. But Houston just recently offered him, and that is the newly Willie Fritz staff who left Tulane offered him. Now they're the Houston staff, and Tulane had already offered him before. So he's got some decent offers. Like, this is a solid pickup if he chooses Illinois, and I feel pretty good about that. So I'm expecting that by Friday or so, Chase Canada to come to Illinois. And so I don't know if you'd heard that or not, Kev. What are you thinking about the defensive lineman from Youngstown State?
I mean, once again, is another guy that everybody's after. This is what Illinois is doing is we've got a lot of irons in the fire on defensive backs, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, and those are the 3 biggest areas of need in the transfer portal. So I think that it's one of those. Sales is I'm in sales. I always talk about sales being a numbers game. Is that you got to throw in a lot. You got to throw out a lot to get a fish, right? You got to cast a lot of lines, and so we're casting a lot of lines. The staff is realizing that we got shoes to fill. We've got positions specifically on offensive, defensive line that you just can't rely on guys who are in their 2nd year in the program to come in and start and make a huge impact. So I'm excited about that. I know that we're still recruiting Joey Slackman out of Penn, I believe. Haven't heard if he's made any decision yet. So there's just there's a lot to go on out there. Obviously, JPL, another defensive back, started his career at NC State and went to junior college. Illinois is in on him. So we're looking at some JUCO guys that could come in and play the corner position early on. I think the safety position, we're pretty solid there. So yeah, I'm just encouraged with what the staff is doing and how they're approaching the transfer portal.
Anthony Johnson, by the way, is the defensive lineman from Youngstown State. So
Penguin.
Yep, Penguins, the Penguins. So, with that said, I feel good about Chase Canada, and I know they're going to be getting at least one more. They're either going to get one more offensive lineman or another defensive piece. That's just the way the staff's working. They're prioritizing it, and I feel pretty confident in that. But with all these suitors, it does come down to NIL, and that's something that's been a slippery slope to a degree. But you know what? They're letting go of a lot of those funds with Newton and Randolph. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'll share this. We talked earlier about watching AJ's film, and if you want to watch some film, go exciting film, exciting prospect. Go watch Daniel Brown's film. That guy is the JUCO.
By the way, I want you to know, Kevin, this could be a fun feature. I want you to know you're able to screen share on here too. So in the future, if you ever have clips you want to post, and it will mute us, but you can post things like anything. Like we could put some Andrew Dennis film on here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd encourage Daniel Brown It's just, I mean, I love his tape. I love his film. I think he's going to be a really nice asset and it's going to contribute on the defensive line / edge outside linebacker role next year.
Yeah. So again, I'm expecting a nice finish for the transfer portal and this 2024 class. I'm excited about it. I think it's a really good class. I think it's a class that you can sustain and build on. I really like what Brett's doing with the defensive line additions, with Sledge from Auburn, of course with Clay Patterson. And if they were able to get the Youngstown State, man, I think that'd really kind of solidify it to you feel pretty comfortable, especially with the edge pieces that haven't actually left yet. You got not just Holmes, but you got Bryant,
Coleman, Yakis, and Bryant. Yep.
Yep, and Yakis and Coleman's the one I'm like, I know they're going to go through their pro days and stuff, but I was also told Pat Bryant should be back. He's gonna do what he needs to do to put his name out there, and they're going to get draft grades back. So they want to kind of see where they're at and come back. And I know right now Isaiah Williams is pretty much gone. He just wants to see what his draft grade is, because he knows he's going to get paid if he comes back to Illinois. But if he can feel pretty confident he's going to get picked by the 5th round or so, I believe he's going to go. So,
yep. Hey, not to bury something here, but Johnny Newton was named first team AP All-American. So that's a trip to the Illinois Hall of Fame. So kudos to him.
Jersey will forever be in the Smith Center.
Yep.
You can always walk around outside Granger Grove now, and you'll get to see a bronzed Johnny Newton.
Mm-hmm.
It's with his face and his stats. So that's awesome, man. But more importantly, we're going to finish this episode up with some enlightenment, some realness with you, Kev. And it just it's all good, because it's important and maybe things people aren't going to really talk about a lot. But, when it affects your life, and you thinking about what happened if, with your kids and your wife. And so the reason yesterday we weren't able to do the show was a health-related issue. And Kevin, I'll let you finish up and elaborate.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that, Ryan. So yesterday's show would have been in the middle of my colonoscopy prep. I had a colonoscopy today. Nothing that prompted it other than if you're 45. That's the recommendation for people to go get a colonoscopy. If you've had direct family members that have been impacted by colon cancer, you should talk to your doctor and get it done a little bit sooner. But yeah, I went through the whole process. Today, I'll be honest with you, yesterday was worse than today. You got to drink all this tonic, and it's got to basically clean out your system so you can go in there and get some good imaging. But it was really absolutely painless today, very quick, very easy. And I'm glad I did it. Colon cancer is a really, really nasty way to go, but it's also completely preventable. So if you are 45 and over and you're listening to the show and you have not had a colonoscopy, I would highly suggest you do it. I would highly suggest that you get a colonoscopy as opposed to the FIT test, the fecal immunoassay test that you can do at home. They're just not as precise as a colonoscopy. So I know it's a little bit, I don't know, for lack of a better term, people would say embarrassing, but it's, you got to take care of yourself. So if you once again, 45 and over, go get your colonoscopy done.
Yeah, I'm getting to that a few years here. I'm about to get my prostate checked. So isn't that 40?
40, 50.
Okay. So you haven't done that? Okay.
I've done it in the past. So.
Okay. So I've got people in my life, being like, you need to do it. I'm like, I'm 36. Calm down. When I'm closer to 40, we'll talk. All right. I don't drink, but I might drink before that. And I'm just being honest. But I do take it serious as well. I know by the time I'm 40, I'm going to do it. But
yeah, it's 45 if you have history, 50 if you don't have history of it. So.
Okay. Yeah. So there you go. Wise words with Kev, and things that you need to take serious. And when he told me yesterday what was going on, it didn't faze me that we had to do another day. I was just worried about Kev, and I found out he was okay. And so I was like, all right, we're good to go tonight. And I know people, I used to do those periscopes by myself back in my 20s, and now I'm getting older. No, I could have.
Somebody stuck a periscope up my butt today, but that's all right.
Oh man. Shit. What the heck? What the hell is that movie with Tom Hanks? Something Periscope. I was like, this is
Oh no, that wasn't Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks wasn't in
Tom
it.
Hanks, Tom Arnold. Yeah.
Down Periscope with
Down Periscope. I was about making Deucey Periscope tonight.
Fraser Crane. Kelsey Grammer was in that?
Yeah, Kelsey Grammer. Real quick here, I'm trying to answer a couple of things from Sean, who asks a bunch of questions during the show, and I can't answer them all right away. Could Illinois get ranked somewhere in the top 5 at any point this season? I think it's possible. I think they've got matchups with Purdue. Let's say they beat Purdue in West Lafayette in a few weeks. I think that's possible.
Yeah, I think Illinois would have to. What is that? Win their next 5 or 6?
Yeah, because Northwestern will be a ranked win, and then they get North Michigan. They get Purdue, and then they got Michigan State.
So they'd have to win out December, which is their next 3 games, and then their first 2 Big Ten games of January are Northwestern at home, and then at Purdue on a Friday night. Mackey's going to be insane. Those kids aren't drinking Dr. Peppers like they do in Provo. But if they come out of that, if Illinois wins their next 5, I don't know about top 5, but Illinois would definitely be top 10.
Yep.
And then if they win their next 5, the schedule really sets up. You don't play another ranked opponent until Northwestern at the end of January on the road. So the schedule sets up pretty nice for Illinois. If they could find a way to win their next 5, they could potentially win their next 10. So
let's see here. Class rankings. Where is Illinois?
13th in the Big Ten if we're including the 4 newcomers, the Pac-12 teams that are moving over is what I saw.
But still, a top 40, 45 class? It's about 45 composite, guys. It's not like – it's
That's
just –
where we need to be.
Yeah, it's just because the Big Ten is killing it in recruiting. But, they're 45 nationally. So if you think about that, there's going to be 16 teams in the Big Ten, and they're 45th. So, and they're not – and also, here's another thing. The ones that are 9, 10, 11, 12, they're not so much better than the recruits Illinois got rated wise.
Yeah.
Slim.
You got teams like Rutgers slightly in front of us, but they got 21 commitments. We're going to do more work in the transfer portal.
Yep. And it's not always about the high school kid class too. It's where are you filling that need? So anyway, my final thought is enjoy this week leading up to Christmas. Don't do any late holiday shopping, and if you do, don't let it stress you out. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So be safe until next week. We'll be celebrating hopefully another Illinois win, and that's my final thought. God bless. Swami out.
ILL.
I and I.